and then we're off. There is a moment in every life when you decide to rise, to stand taller than your fear, to speak louder than your doubt, to chase the vision that sets your soul on fire. This is that moment, and here we walk it together with stories that awaken, voices that inspire, and truths that set you free. This is Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, where hope has a voice, and that voice is yours. And welcome to the show, everybody. I got to tell you, we are very fortunate that we've got a great guest for you today, because we're going to be talking about a heavy topic, but we're not going to talk about it heavily because, it just is lifey, as somebody that I know would say. Rochelle, how are you today?
I'm doing amazing, Kevin. That was quite the little intro. We are in the vibe.
We are. We are. And would you like to introduce our guest for the hour, dear?
I would love to. We have Jen Newberg here with us today. She has, a matter of fact, a website called itslifey.com, where she talks about grief changing everything, but a community will too. So, hello, Jen. How are you? Welcome.
I am doing wonderful. Thanks so much for having me.
Of course.
Jen, I have to tell you, in looking at itslifey.com, and I've looked at your story a little bit. And first of all, I would like to offer, on behalf of Rochelle and the team, our sincere condolences for your loss.
I appreciate that very much.
Because I cannot imagine what it would be like to be on the vacation of your life and to have your husband tell you that he wasn't feeling well. And then would you like to take it from there?
I certainly can. So yes, as you mentioned, it was May of 2024. My husband and I were actually gifted this trip of a lifetime by my parents, who can no longer travel, but it's been a huge part of their lives, and they wanted to see it be a part of our lives as well. And so it was sentimental, it was thoughtful, it was, magical. It was a trip of a lifetime. There's really no other way to describe it. And we had spent about a year planning it. I spent about a year planning it. You know how that goes. And so it was night 4. We were on the island of Mykonos. We had gone out for this really fabulous dinner on the beach with all the music and delicious food that you can find at an island in the Mediterranean. We came home, we went to bed. It was about 4:00 in the morning. He woke me up and he said, "I think I'm having a heart attack." And I looked at him and I ran downstairs and I got, the person at the front desk. I said, "My husband's having a heart attack. We need to call 911. And he looked at me and he said, "There is no 911. And I said, "Okay, so what do we do?" And he came upstairs with me. He was the owner of a boutique hotel, an American, which was really helpful. He said, "Well, let me see what kind of medic I can get here." And he just started making phone calls to friends and friends of friends. Like, there was no system whatsoever. While that was happening, I was on the phone with my father back at home, and he was walking me through how to do CPR. And so I was doing the best I could to keep Jack alive. And within about 10 minutes, he had passed. Maybe about 10 minutes after that, the medics came. And so it was insane. It was absolutely crazy. And I can say, I know you opened by saying we're going to talk about a heavy topic, but we're going to make it lighter. The heaviness is that no one should ever have to watch someone die, especially when it's the love of your life. And so having gone through that was, probably one of the most traumatic experiences I could ever imagine. Fast forward an hour after his passing, where I was in the police station on the island of Mykonos, and everyone was speaking Greek because a man had just died in my hotel room. I understood. I got it. It was process. And so, that kind of began what I call the period of my life. I call it the circus. Because that's literally, it was three-ring circus, navigating all of the policies and procedures when a American dies in another country, dealing with the our U.S. counterparts over there who were wonderful, dealing with a Greek funeral home, dealing with getting his body back to the U.S. Like, it's a lot of logistics. And then coming back home, which I was very lucky to come back home fairly quickly. I mean, I had people offer to come get me. I was like, I'm going to be home. Like, you're going to come and turn around and go home. And so in hindsight, I do wish I had somebody with me, because that was a really, really difficult trip. But I was able to come home, and I pulled up to my driveway. I'm looking out at my driveway because I just so vividly can picture this. And there were like 50 cars in my driveway. There were double the amount of people in my house. And I was like, oh my God, I can't go in. And I sat outside in my front yard with his two kids and my daughter and his best friend. And we sat there for about an hour and, cried and did all of that stuff before we went in. And it was chaos. There's no other way to describe it. It was chaos. And I think that anybody who's experienced loss of a spouse, understands that there's a lot of feelings going on. A lot of feelings. And so having to navigate the logistical side of things while dealing with the emotional side of things is paralyzing. There's no other way to describe it. So,
and Jen, it's interesting to me that so many of your family and friends wanted to be there to comfort you and wanted to be there when you got home. But at the same time, that put you into a position of where you were still dealing with all of these things that had so recently happened. And then your natural instincts are, oh, I've got all these people in my house, I have to be upbeat and positive and all of this, that's the last thing that you felt at the time. And maybe it would have been better to have it be a very quiet moment for you to acclimate yourself. And I want to ask you about that. But Rochelle, what do you think so far of this incredible story? Can you imagine that happening?
No, it's exactly how I would imagine it, paralyzing. And you can't really imagine what that feels like until you're there. And I bet when you were in that time, you didn't even really realize you were paralyzed, because there was so much still going on. Like, you still needed your brain. You still had to try to cope with your emotions and guide yourself through that process. And I do see where Kevin's coming from too. At the same time, your first time coming home without your husband in your home, and you're kind of flooded with this, what are we going to do now from everybody? But also in that you learned how important support was, because maybe we don't have people like that, or we naturally are like, leave me alone. I'm going to shut down and I'm going to turn off. How did you not do that through being so paralyzed and in nothing but chaos?
So I think, and I can talk a lot more about this later as I get into what I do now. But, one of the things that I learned very quickly is you can have the most amazing friends and support system and feel completely alone.
Yes.
And it's why, it's why I do what I do now. And that was really that feeling. Aside from my children, and perhaps a few people, it was, there was no way that anybody could have understood what was going on. That being said, I was very grateful for the support that I had. And, another thing that I talk about quite often is there is no way, it is physically and emotionally impossible to handle widowhood alone. No matter how self-resilient you are, no matter how much you think you've got it all together. And I am that person. I am type A to the max, and I have everything going smoothly. There is just, it all crumbles to the ground.
So Jen, when you were outside and you saw all these cars, my first thing that I would say is, did we empty the dishwasher? Is everything clean? Because all these people are there, they're going to be judging me for how, if the house isn't clean and all this. Did any of that run through your mind?
Definitely not. Definitely not. That was the last thing I was thinking of. If you want the truth, I'm a pretty honest, straightforward person. You careful what you ask me, you'll get. that was not running through my mind at all. It was more of like, what am I going to do with all these people? You said it, Rochelle, like that kind of feeling, the need to be not necessarily upbeat. I mean, obviously my husband had just died. No one was expecting me to be,
Right.
Perky, happy.
But it's almost like we got to fix it and make her feel better.
Right. I just had no idea. It was, again, I call it the circus. And that's literally what was going on in my head. It was a circus. And it was, how do I be there for my kids? How do I deal with all these people in my house? How do I deal with the fact that within 24 hours, my house has become a florist shop? The smell. How do I get this smell out of my house? Which wasn't dirty dishes, by the way. It was, and people have a lot of questions. I often say to people, and I didn't know this at the time, I know it now, that no is a full sentence. Or I don't know is also a full sentence. And so when people are saying, when's the funeral? Within like an hour of getting home, it's like, I have no idea. That's the last thing that I'm thinking about right now. Like, I need to go through the threshold of my front door of the home that I bought and built with my husband. Let's start there. One thing at a time. So.
Well, and although they were coming from a place of nothing but love and care for you, maybe you could speak on that a little bit more, so that, because our nurturing selves want to jump in, we want to help, fix, do all the things that really is not our place to do. If you were to give somebody some tools or tips about that happening to someone they love, how would you tell them to approach it so that it was better?
I think, I do this all the time. I talk to people about this all the time, is to take the person who is experiencing the grief, take their lead. Let them ask for what they actually need in that moment, rather than offer them things that they might not need, or force things down their throat that they definitely don't need. And so if it was, it's taking direction from the person who's going through it. And if that direction is get out of my house, go. If that direction is lay in bed with me for the next 7 days, do that too. And everyone's different, and what they need is different. Everybody processes things different. Everybody's, emotional needs are different. Just, I hate to say it, but just do it. Like, it's the simple, phrase we all know, whatever that person needs. And I also, flip side is, I teach widows all the time to specifically ask what you need, and don't assume that people know, because they don't. And so, yes, Rochelle, you're so right. Everybody wants to give, and I mean, it's a beautiful thing. And I say that to widows all the time as well, who are super self-reliant and like, I can't ask for help. Well, guess what? People want to help. They feel good when they help. But you got to tell them what you need, because otherwise you're going to get what you don't need.
Yeah. And what you said is so particular, especially in my world, because when somebody passes and you're that person who expects them to want you around, I think that happens commonly too. Well, I'm your best friend. I'm supposed to be here. I'm your this, I'm your that. I'm your sister. I'm your brother. And then not only does it put more pressure and grief on the person who is trying to process their grief, but maybe they feel guilty because they don't want you around the way that maybe they know you want to be. And I think we need to learn to maybe separate ourselves and not try to step into somebody's grief shoes. That's a time when let them be in their space and let them guide you rather than to guide them. That is beautiful.
I think the other tip that I hate to call it a tip, it sounds so generic. But the other thing that I say to people is, Wait.
Yeah.
Wait until, give it a week, give it 2 weeks, give it a month, because what happens is everybody comes at you all at once. And typically, you plan a funeral or celebration of life or whatever it is, and then everyone goes away.
Yes.
And those are the moments that, again, depending on who you are, you might be, thank the Lord, everyone's gone, or you might feel the most lonely and wish that there was somebody still there. And it's one of the things I will be forever, ever grateful for my very best friend who came. She had been through, some loss herself, and she knew enough to come the morning of the funeral and stay for a week after versus coming before, because she knew that that's just that's how it goes. I mean, every single widow that I've ever spoken to experiences the same thing. It's this onslaught of attention, and then poof, they're gone.
Yeah.
And we want to talk about more of that when we come back from this break, because many times it's the first Christmas. It's the first anniversary.
Yeah.
It's the death day a year later, when everybody has moved on with their lives and you're still knee deep in the middle of it. And that is when the support can be most helpful and meaningful. We need to take this break. Purcell, if we wanted to contact Jen Newberg, how do we do it?
You go to itslifey.com. She's have everything available for you there. Go check it out, and we'll be right back to dig deeper on why Jen does what she does.
And we have to ask, it's Lifey? Where did Lifey come from? We'll
So
there is a moment most leaders never talk about. The strategy is sound, the team is capable, and yet something feels off. That moment is not failure. It's a signal that structure and humanity have drifted apart. Calm is often misunderstood. It is not passive. It is not disengaged. It is not soft. Calm is what allows us to see clearly when others react. This is the work I've spent decades doing, helping leaders navigate hard conversations with intention and guiding organizations back into alignment. If this resonates, you're not alone, and I'd love to connect.
And welcome back to Positive Talk. My name is Kevin, and Purcell is right there. And we've got a great guest. Jen Newberg is with us, and she has got an organization that she has started, and it's in support of grieving widows and how to negotiate. And we're going to talk about that. But I wanted to ask you, because first of all, it's Lifey. Where did that come from?
So it comes from the phrase "life gets lifey," which has always been, a phrase that I've related to. This is not my first rodeo with trauma. I've been through divorce. I have, been a stepmom, which isn't always easy. Part of my story involves addiction recovery. Life's been lifey.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's something that everyone can relate to. I mean, as soon as people hear that phrase, they're like, yeah. And it could be, a day. At the end of the day, I get calls. It's so funny. So many people love to play off of it with me these days. I had a coffee with somebody this morning, and he left and he sent me a text, and he's like, life is lifey, huh? Like all day long. But it's something that everyone gets, because nobody goes through life on this like perfectly smooth rainbow of, puppy dogs and ice cream. Like life is lifey.
And it can be very challenging at times. And one of the most challenging moments in time is when your life partner suddenly departs for the other side, and you're there, and you have to do all of the things that together you might have done before, and make all the arrangements and do all that. I can't even imagine. It's far worse than a divorce, in my opinion, because in my case, she was still around somewhere. I have no idea where, but she was around someplace. But that would be so hard. And I know, Purcell, you've gone through trauma as well. And so there's a connection and a bond with people who go through these things and these traumas, that they can create support with each other. And Jen, I want to know, when was it that entered your brain that this is hard and there are other people that are going through the exact same thing that I'm going through, and I want to help them? What was that process like for you?
So I had a little bit of experience in the area. As I mentioned, part of my story is recovery from substance abuse. And so I had experienced being a part of a recovery community that was and is one of the most important parts of my life. And I learned what it was like to be with people who were not judgmental, who got what you were going through without you having to explain it, who were kind without expecting anything in return, where you could just be with and let your shoulders down and breathe. And so I had always in my mind, for many years thought, like, I wish there was something like, I used to say all the time, I wish there was some communities like this for people who weren't substance users. And so, and I said it as a joke, to be honest. Well, I meant it, but it was kind of funny the way that I thought about it. And so when so I knew to seek that. And I feel really lucky that I knew that I needed that. A lot of people don't realize that they need that. And so when Jack died, I went on a hunt. I went to find my people. And it was really hard. I did, I was involved in several grief programs. Some were really wonderful. Some were not so great. And I decided to kind of take that experience and that knowledge of the importance of community and the importance of being around people who get it. I use that phrase, just as much as It's Lifey resonates, being around people who get it, that's like an immediate, like, oh, got that. And so I took some of the things that I had learned in my other groups that I really liked. I took my own journey and experience and I smushed it all together. And I started running groups on my own. And that's how it started. Full transparency. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs go through this. When I first started It's Lifey, my mission was to help build community for all people going through life transitions. And I had a list of 20 plus life transitions. I thought I could save the world. And, I think that's a common thing amongst people like myself. And I learned the phrase, Jen, you can't boil the ocean. And why don't you get more focused? And maybe we should narrow in and start somewhere. Which I am an extrovert. My ideas are bigger than the universe. And actually executing's not my strength. I'll be honest, And so it was with the help of some very wise people who were like, let's really focus in on a community that you have a connection with, a strong connection with, and that you can really help. And that's when I decided that I really wanted to focus on widows. And It's Lifey, morphed into building communities for widows. And I spent about a year running in-person support groups and widow retreats. And that's where the magic started. And, they say, in business that you have this hypothesis and you think it's going to work. You think it's a great idea. But when, the rubber hits the road, like, do other people think that? And I tell this story a lot. My first support group I led, it's about 8 women. We came in, it was a small room. We got to know each other. Some people wouldn't speak at all. Some people were willing to talk a lot. Most of them came kicking and screaming. Somebody had dragged them in, their brother, their best friend. Someone's like, you need to go and talk to other widows. And so they were not so thrilled to be there. And they all left, and I'm cleaning up the room. And in like the little vestibule area where they gathered, I heard someone say, hey, can I get your phone number? And that was life-changing for me. because it made me realize that these people too, even in this hour period of time, these strangers felt a connection enough that they wanted to continue to talk to each other after the session was over. And that's everything to me. And that's what I hope for in everything that I do.
That's a really big deal.
It was huge. It was one of those things that like, this is gonna help people.
Yeah.
And by the way, Jen, I have to say this. I've interviewed 3,000 people or more in my career of doing this. And I was in sales and all that kind of stuff. I've talked to thousands of people. Nobody has ever said, and Rochelle, we need to put this on a t-shirt. Okay. You can't boil the ocean. That is so friggin' deep. that I've never heard anybody say that before. Where did you come up with that yourself?
I did not. I wish I could take credit for that. And I couldn't even tell you who said it to me, but it was a really good, setting me straight moment was, that, you can't save the world, Jen. You can't boil the ocean. Let's do it. I think we have a new business. We could put it on, we could do t-shirts. Yeah, excellent. Let's do it.
I love where your mind is taking that, Jen. I'm like, well, we could make it something.
What goes on in this brain? It's a scary place. In all the best ways, I hope.
Yes. Well, based off of what you were saying too, Jen, do you work with women to also bring in the understanding of what you do let in and what you can and can't control? Because in your grief, a lot of times it's like, well, I have to be in control of everything. And then it's also the overwhelming of who to let be in control of that. And do you see that naturally they tend to blame themselves for things that really are not them, but it's kind of just how they help themselves get through it type of thing?
100%. You are so spot on. People often ask me, what's the biggest thing that I've learned through grief? And it's boundaries. It's learning how to set boundaries. And to your point, learning who to let in, who to leave, stay out. And in fact, I know that the people who are listening and not watching can't see this, but I have this little crystal thing on my desk, and it is called the circle of control. And there is a circle and it says what I can control, and the outside is what I can't control. And I refer to it quite often. I obviously couldn't control my husband dying. I mean, that was completely out of my control, but I can control what I'm going to do next. And I often say, I hate how I got here, but I'm here. And what does that mean? That's a really deep thought for me. And I say it to people all the time, to other widows, people who, you have no control of the fact that you're here right now. So now what?
Yep.
Now what? And how can we learn from each other? And how can we take those, baby steps forward? And I'll be honest, most people want to punch me in the face when I say, what's your next chapter?
Yeah.
It's because they're like, I don't want a new chapter.
Right.
I want to stay in the chapter I was in. I want my husband to be back. I want to keep going in the life that I had planned.
But also when you allow that option there for them to think about it, it allows them to forgive what they couldn't control. It allows them to forgive themselves for the things they took blame in because they didn't know that there wasn't a reason, right? There has to be a reason, or maybe to just accept, to just fully accept where they're at, but not in a sense that they themselves are not less than, because it's got to be just like, well, without that person, I am nothing. I could only imagine. I don't know if I would survive that, and I think that you are incredibly strong and very inspirational in the way that you've been able to help other women. Doesn't it help you too?
100%. And people say to me all the time, 7 months after your husband died, you started a company?
Yeah.
What's wrong with you?
Yeah, I would have said that too.
And
like, you go, girl.
My response always is, it's what I needed to do to help myself heal. Meeting these women, being with these women, I, get just as much out of it as they do. I hope, And when you talk about, when I talk about what's the next chapter, and, the whole, like, I don't want the next chapter. When I listen to your opening of your show and you talk about hope, like, that's what it's all about. Even if they don't want it or they don't think they want it, giving them, that little seedling that there could be a next chapter. Yes. That's hope. That's really what that's all about.
Kevin, we have to play the seed during this show. She just said it.
I will play that in our last, going into our last break, or maybe before. We'll see. But Jen Newberg is with us, and she's an extraordinary young woman. And I say that because you are still a young woman, and you've got a ton of life and a ton of things that you are destined to do with that life. And we need to take our halftime break. And when we come back, we're going to talk more about the work that she does, of bringing the community together, and maybe some other interesting things that I don't know yet, because Rochelle's going to say something that I have no idea what she's going to say. But we will be right back after this halftime break. Stay with us, everybody.
You're listening to Brushwood Media Network, the best in syndicated talk, news, and entertainment shows.
Are you looking for your daily dose of inspiration? Stay connected to all your favorite shows, music, and news with the Brushwood Media Network app. From Positive Talk Radio to Greatest Vibes Unplugged and so many more uplifting voices around the world, everything you need is right in one place. It's easy to use, too. Always available and designed to keep you inspired 24 hours a day. Go to brushwoodmedianetwork.com and download the app, and you will always have Brushwood Media available on your smartphone. Download it now and make inspiration and music and conversation part of your everyday. And welcome back to Positive Talk. My name is Kevin, and Rochelle's right there, and Jen Newberg is with us, and she has a company, and it's called itslifey.com, right, Rochelle?
Yes, that's right, because life is lifey.
Life can be lifey.
You know.
Life can also be bitchy sometimes if you're not careful, and stuff. It's all part of it. And Jen, by the way, I want to tell you that Jack is my favorite name in the world. That was my dad's name.
Oh, I love that. It's a good one. It's a good one.
Yes, indeed. And he's been gone 15 years now, but he has a hand in this show every day that we do it. And,
I love that. I mean, Jack, my Jack has a hand in my life every day too. It's because of him that I get to, another phrase, I get to do what I do. And I hate how I got here, but I'm here. It all goes back to that.
And if I can be so bold as to tell this quick story, I was talking with a young lady that was deep in grief, and she had lost her husband as well, and she was very, very upset, and this is 2 years down the way, and I said to her, and I meant this sincerely, and I want to know if this is an appropriate thing to say to somebody who's lost somebody, which is, I want you to think about if the roles were reversed and you were the one who passed away and left your significant other here, how would you want them, from you being on the other side and being safe and being complete, how would you want them to live their life? Would you want them to grieve over you, or would you want them to live their best life and really honor their memory by doing that? Does that make any sense at all, or do I get slapped upside the head for saying stuff like that?
It depends on who you say it to.
And when.
Don't
say that the next day.
At the funeral is probably not
It's going to get blocked really fast. And I want to just follow up with what Kevin said too, and what you started to mention. There's this new discovery of, well, then who am I, right? Like, well, what am I supposed to do with my time? If I usually do this with them, and I do this with them, and all that kind of stuff, and engaging in community. Do you find that it's very helpful for the women to have each other there to mention the things that they are doing. Maybe one of them started art and she's never done it before, maybe planting, going for a walk in the park, all these little things that they tend to kind of help each other out through the process of finding how to fill that time with new fulfilling things.
So I'm not sure what direction to go first. I will first
Start
go
with
with
Kevin.
Kevin.
Start with Kevin, because we can take mine way too far.
I think that is a fine thing to say. I do think that there are some people who get so deep in their grief and they're so angry, and they don't even want to think of a life that their partner isn't a part of, that would take some kind of offense to it. But I think for the most part, especially months to years out, I think that's an okay thing to say, and I think it does help women, men, anybody going through grief, to think about what would that person want for them.
And even so, because I have done a lot of these shows and I've worked with a lot of psychic mediums, and I've talked to a lot of people on the other side, and they have as well. I firmly believe that even though they're on the other side, they're still with you. But they're not here physically. They don't want you to give up your physicality to be in grief. They want you to live life to the fullest, because they recognize you're not going to be here forever either. So
Kevin, you had such a good point when you said honoring their life.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Do it for them. Do it because you get to, Jen. Like you said, at this point, there's nothing you have to do. But what do you get to do?
Exactly.
That's what made me think of what they do next. Because I'd probably buy a storage unit and rot away in it. I'm just kidding.
And that's okay. No judgment. Listen, everybody handles things differently, but I do think going to the community piece of it, and you saying, does it help to listen to what other people are doing? When you see other people doing things to better their lives, it does help you, or inspires you, or gives you, a little bit of, intrigues them to want to do it too. And I have seen situations where I have two women in front of me, and one can't get out of bed, can't go to dinner with anybody, can't do anything in their lives. And I have another one that's volunteering, and as you said, perhaps they're painting, and they're, going to dinner with their friends. And it's kind of like, there's usually how can you do that? And, attitude there sometimes.
Yeah. It would feel like pressure. Like, well, I should be like them.
I should be like, but you know what? They might not go from A to Z in that perspective. But again, reason why I bring people together, because if it makes that person who can't get out of bed and can't put one foot in front of the other think even just that little, here we go with the seed again. I don't know what the seed thing is, but we'll talk, it's that little, it's the seed of, maybe someday I can do that too. And it might not be today or tomorrow or next week, but maybe I'll get to a point where I'm happy again.
Jen, since you brought that up, let's play it now, and this will be our last break, and then that'll give us longer to go. And because I would like to mention this, or I'll just play it. Here's another point to ponder by Positive Talk Radio. A tiny seed was buried in the dirt, covered in darkness, forgotten by the world. But within that darkness, it grew roots, then sprouted into something beautiful. The seasons of struggle you face are not endings. They're beginnings. Trust that growth is happening, even when you cannot see it. You're listening to Positive Talk Radio, where stories of hope live. What do you think, Jen?
I want to hang out with you guys all the time.
That's why I was like, girl, you have to hear this. It's everything you said.
Can we just talk all night?
Yes.
Yeah, no, I think it's exactly what I was just saying. That seed is planted, and it might not be a tree by the end of the week. Mm-hmm. But it's growing, it's in there. And if, we can do that for each other, this group of widows, this group of women who really get what each other's going through, then it's magical. I mean, it's truly, truly magical.
It's
And
life.
Jen, I have to ask you, because one of the things, whether it's either divorce or if you become a widow, is all of your friends, most of your friends, are built upon couple to couple relationships of where, we'll get together with Rick and Mary, or we'll get together with da da da, and we'll go and we'll be couple to couple, and now you are a single person and you don't have that other way, and then you feel out of place. Do you guys talk about that and how to make it more real for them so that they can feel like they're not the odd person out because they're not mated up, if you will?
Absolutely. And I can tell you, because I've been divorced as well, and I've been widowed. And there's a funny thing that happens in divorce where some friends win one person or the other. It's like you kind of like team Jack or in my case, it was team Jason, team Jen. And, there's kind of a weird dynamic, and that doesn't happen when you lose somebody to death. Everyone is team Jen, which is, an interesting dynamic that I definitely wanted to throw out there. But absolutely. And, again, I hate to keep saying this, and everyone's different, but it's true. Everyone is different. And, something interesting, everyone's different in how comfortable they feel continuing to go out with those friend couples. I encourage people to sometimes ask them to not be to go out one-on-one, go out with the wife or go out with the husband. The other thing that happens is sometimes couples don't want to go out with you because it's weird, because the last time they went out with you, you were with your husband, and they feel uncomfortable, especially if in my case, this has happened many times where the husband was very close with Jack. And so it's hard for them to go out with me. And so it's a two-way street oftentimes.
Well, sometimes it's hard for the wife because now you're single and her husband always loved you, and now there's that.
It could happen,
Yeah.
Life gets lifey.
Yes.
Life gets complicated and lifey, and you never know.
Or having even the husband still be friends. That's got to be complicated between your relationship with the other wife.
Oh, yeah. I mean, everything. Listen, loss makes a lot of things complicated. Yeah. I always say one of the reasons why I used to joke with Jack that one of the reasons why I married him was because I loved his friends more than I loved him. And that's a complicated thing too, because, I keep in touch with some of them, others not. And it's sad, I miss them. But it's how life goes. Your world shifts in so many different ways. And, you've obviously what you described, Kevin, is the quintessential third wheel story.
Yeah.
It's real, being that third wheel or the fifth wheel or the seventh wheel. And listen, and it goes back to something I said early on, which is no is a full sentence. And when a couple or multiple couples ask you to do something, if you don't want to, you can say no. Yeah. And I give other widows in the work that I do permission all the time to say no, because people are innately people pleasers, or, they want to go with the flow. And so if you are invited to go out and you don't feel like it, or you feel uncomfortable, just say no. People understand. Nobody's going to judge you or be mad at you because you didn't want to go out when your husband just died.
Yeah. And if they do, that says enough about them. Stay away.
100%. It's kind of like you were talking, Kevin, earlier about the holidays.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, my first Thanksgiving, myself, my kids, we all got dressed. We were like ready to go. The whole family was like waiting for us. And we looked at each other as we were walking out the door, and we all went, nobody wants to go to this, do they? Nope. And we took our clothes back off and we didn't actually get naked, but we put our pajamas back on. We all jumped back on the couch, and my stepson so kindly drove out to our family's house, packed up some Thanksgiving food, brought it back to us, and we ate in our living room. You can say no. You don't have to do anything that you don't want to do.
Yeah.
And
it's a hard thing for people to do.
Yeah.
Well,
and
yeah,
you taught the kids in that moment. Yeah. Sorry, Kevin, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say the peer pressure of they don't want to come to our house. It's Thanksgiving, and we haven't seen them in several months. But you've got to feel like that's appropriate for you, and that you really want to. Because sometimes watching, in a Christmas movie like Braveheart or Die Hard or something like that, maybe that is what fills your soul at that moment, rather than putting on a show. Because don't we all do that? We go out into the family get together and we try and put on a show of that we're okay and we're doing well. We're inside, we're not, but we don't want them to know that. And then when we leave and they go, oh, Jen's doing really well, I think, and she's doing really fine, and I'm so glad that she's moving on. But inside, you're like
it gives me like the heebie-jeebies even just hearing you say it. Like it is so common, and we talk about this in our groups all the time too, that phrase, oh my gosh, she's doing so well and moving on. It's like, did you expect me to just sit there and bawl my eyes out for 2 hours? Like, I don't really, and it's human nature, what that's just, it's, you can't control what other people think. You can only control, how you react to it. So
none of my business what you think of me.
None of my business what you think of me. Hey, if you can get to that point in your life, you are an amazing human being.
Yes.
I feel like this experience has gotten me a little bit closer to that. Because I've learned and I have grown. And, somebody said to me the other day, actually said to a group of widows, widowhood is beautiful. And everybody was like, what? That is the last thing. But I can tell you there's been some really beautiful parts of it. There's been some opportunities for self-growth that I never would have had. And so that part's pretty cool. And I've gotten to launch this cool new platform, Hope Hub. If love to share about it. If you're
what is it?
What the heck is that?
Tell us.
Hope Hub. I mean, here we go. I mean, seriously, the ties, the seeds, the hope, it's all coming full circle. I love it. So, one thing that I learned last year, I wanted to build these communities for people, and I swore that I would always do them in person. I would never do anything online. And that lasted all of, 7 months when I realized I couldn't clone myself and be in more than 18 places at once.
Yeah, be careful what you wish for, because it's gonna be much bigger than that.
You got the challenge when you said no thanks.
And so I also realized that I had to move into the 21st century and realize that everything is online. And so I succumbed. And I've spent the last couple of months building a platform called Hope Hub. You can get to it through my website. And it is a online community for widows where you introduce yourself, you say where you're from, you can share as much or as little as you want. You can put a little social media-esque where you can put a post like, I had the worst day ever, like this is what happened to me, or I need a financial advisor, or my daughter's being a jerk, whatever it is. And there's a discussion forum. And then I call this something different every time. Sometimes I call it a webinar, sometimes a podcast, sometimes a live stream. I should get some advice from you guys on what to call this thing. But I do these 45-minute sessions with experts who touch, widows in different ways. And they range from therapists to healers to financial advisors. I talked to a Social Security expert today that I'm like, oh my God, you are a godsend, because that is one of the first things that every widow thinks is, how do I navigate Social Security? And it is not easy. So, I try and bring in people who are going to give, sound advice to these widows. And I have all kinds of resources there. And we talked about the retreats earlier. That's where I'll do virtual events that are kind of longer form than the podcast live stream webinar. I should just combine it like Bennifer. We can come up with that. I
All
can't
in
do it
one.
off the top of my head. You can probably do that.
Hey, listen, you came up with Lifey, and that I never, so you can come up with anything.
Yeah, the all-in-one life.
Well, somebody said to me, why don't you call them life streams, which I thought was kind of creative, but then I was like, but nobody knows what that means.
Yeah.
So anyway, so long story short, it's my effort to try and reach more people outside of the state of Massachusetts where I live. And bring more people into the community and really help them answer the 8 million questions that come from widowhood.
Well, and Jen, I have some bad news for you that you're reaching people in Kenya as we speak, because Rochelle, go ahead.
Yes, hi, Samuel. He says, greetings, Brother Kevin, Sister Rochelle, and guest Jennifer Newberg. We are watching and listening to live from Kiberia Restoring Hope Center, based in the Kiberia slums of Nairobi, Kenya. This is our favorite program show, Positive Talk Radio. The slums is listening to the #1 best program, Positive Talk Radio show. Thanks, Brother Kevin and Sister Rochelle, for highlighting our weekly feeding program, No Child Goes to Bed Hungry, to the world. God bless you, team. So I'm glad that they tuned in to say hello to you, Jen. I could only imagine.
I love it so much.
And there are 20 to 25 people in a classroom on a big screen TV watching us do this show live. And your message is so important, because I know that grief is not in Massachusetts only. It's a worldwide phenomenon, and we all have to learn to work together to help each other, to be a community for each other, because not every day is, as you said earlier, cupcakes and ice cream. And because we all are together and we're all connected to each other, and we need to have compassion for each other and what each other's going through. Thank you for doing the work that you're doing.
Thank you for doing the work that you're doing. I think it's incredible what you guys do, and the messages you're able to share, and the hope that you're able to bring to people all over the world. So kudos to you guys too. And it's I don't know if we're coming to time, because I can talk forever. But I will if I have one more time. Oh, good. Something you just said actually just reminded me. You said grief is a worldwide, global feeling, I guess we can say. So is loneliness, and that at the core of what I do. When I talk about building community and bringing people together that get it, it is to fight the fact that there's a loneliness epidemic, not only in the U.S. but globally. And the only way to fight loneliness is community, in my perspective. It's the antidote to loneliness is community. And I say that over and over and over again, so that it gets through people's thick heads that if you're feeling alone, go find someone else to spend your time with. And if that person happens to be going through the same thing you are, I mean, that's an even better scenario. And so how can I literally bring people together so that they're not feeling so alone?
And let me go amplify that with Hope Hub, if I can, because it's an online presentation, and it's just like this show, which we have a large listener audience, but at its core, we reach every individual. It's an individual, very intimate discussion that the three of us are having with someone who somewhere in our listener audience is sitting on their bed, having lost somebody and feeling the grief of that. And they've been waiting and looking for a way that they can share that with others. And they tune into us. The universe works in mysterious ways, and I don't know how they do it. But if somebody needs to hear the message, they're here to listen to it, either now or in the future, and they'll go to Hope Hub, and that may be something that saves their life.
100%. It's why I'm so honest about things too. People say to me, like, Usually, I didn't say it here, but oftentimes when I begin, a podcast or a conversation, I'll say, I'm about to say things that you might not say to your best friend because they are your innermost thoughts and feelings and you are embarrassed. I say them because I know that there's other people who are thinking them too. And if they say, oh, I'm not crazy, she thinks that too, that must not, I must not be the only one, then you get what you get and you don't get upset.
Absolutely. And bless you for doing that. And I will say this to every human that is listening to this program. There is nothing that has happened to you that hasn't happened to somebody else. So reach out and find the group that is, and find a Jen Newberg who is working to put all of this out there, and join the group. And if you have the financial means and you believe in what she is doing, support it. And you can support it financially or by just telling somebody who needs to hear the message. Is that okay for me to say?
Absolutely. It sure is. Girls,
and I want to pull that one step further and tell that people, if you, wherever you're at, whatever day it is, and however you're feeling, let it be that way. Don't fight yourself and don't deny what you have to go through in order to get to that point. And please don't think, as Jen mentioned, she's here to tell you that so many women and so many people in general that lose the person that they love, no matter who it is, you're not alone in having to wait for somebody to be ready to help you. You don't have to be ready for the day. You don't have to have had a shower. You don't have to have eaten and, communicate. Just tell people, if you want someone to come and be with you in silence, that's okay. If you need somebody to just hear you out and say nothing back, that's okay. If you need somebody to come and give you ideas or talk about their life so you have a distraction, let yourself be however you need to, and don't put the pressure or the stress of other people and their thoughts and expectations on yourself, because it is not your responsibility through the grief. Was that fair, Jen?
That is so spot on. Feel the feelings, just say no. Learn how to set those boundaries, learn how to communicate exactly what you want. People can't read your minds. If you don't tell them what they want, as I said in the beginning, they're going to give you something you don't want.
Yes.
And that makes everything worse. Sit with the feelings. One thing I didn't get to, but I say this, quite a lot too, is here's another little tidbit, another little tool or tip is you can feel two feelings at once. My therapist taught me that when Jack died, because you can feel joy and sadness at the same, like, it's possible. Yes. And so if you're grieving and all of a sudden you smile or you laugh, that's okay. That's cool.
Yes.
And then you can go back to being sad, and then you can be excited, and then you can be grumpy, and then you can do all the things. And you can still grieve at the same time. Like, it's okay. Just as you were just saying, Brichelle, like, let it flow.
Be human. Live your lifey life.
Live your life. Live your true self. Like, it is. Oh, that is. If there's anything anybody takes away from this, and I mean, you really hit it on the nail on the head. Feel the feels. It's okay. You're not crazy. I promise you.
Jen, are you familiar with the gospel according to Paul McCartney?
I am not.
Let it be.
Oh, yes.
I hated when he told me that at first. I was like, yeah, whatever. But it really, like you said, let yourself live your life. Let it be. Let it happen. Yeah. And it's scary, and that's okay too.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Scary and hopeful.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Happy, sad, grumpy, excited, all of it.
All right.
And by the way, Jen Newberg, you're going to have to come back. We love you.
Oh, I love you guys too. This has been so fun. I'm so energized. I might not go to sleep tonight. No, I'm just kidding. It's honestly, I feel like I just had a cup of coffee and I don't even drink coffee. Yes. For the reason that you're seeing right now, I'm already like this. But really, I have enjoyed. I just love what you do. I love the stories that you tell and the messages and the people that you're able to reach, because, it's really you too are fighting that loneliness epidemic. You too are making people feel like they're not alone. And, I reference this quite often. Our former Surgeon General, Dr. Vivek Murthy, he wrote a book on the loneliness epidemic. And he says that loneliness is as detrimental to your mental health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day is to your physical health.
Yep.
And so if that kind of paints a picture of how loneliness can really, I can't think of the word now, can really like tear apart your soul. We need people like you guys and shows like this and conversations like this to make people feel less alone. That's what it's all about.
Thank you for being here and doing it with us, Jen. We are so inspired by your courage to not alone go through what you're going through, but to involve other people in that journey and all those things that are naturally kind of terrifying. So thank you for being who you are, doing the work you do. I myself am like, what have I been through that I can take and find some people and bring them to my home and create that space.
Love it.
It's just so inspirational. So thank you for being here to share this all with us. Everybody, if you're listening to this at any given time, go to her website. It's lifey.com. You can find the Hope Hub. You can connect about retreats and news and listen to all the shows that she's going to have coming out. And Jen, yes, you have to come back. I want to open and offer and extend the invitation to maybe another widow who you've worked with and helped to come in and join us for another conversation and another perspective, because we love these conversations. They are so important.
They really are. Thank you. Thank you for bringing this to everyone.
And Rochelle, you get to wrap it up.
Yes. Well, Kevin, thank you as always for making this possible. Jen, for your time and your soul. Just thank you for everything that you're doing. We can't wait to have you back. And once again, you guys go and visit itslifey.com. If you know somebody that you care about that can benefit from these things, send that text with the link. Give them the option. And until next time, we absolutely love you. So love yourself.
And Jen, I just have to say this. I don't know how she did it, but how the hell did Rochelle get so smart?
Lots of experience.
She's been hanging with you.
I'll take that as the utmost compliment. So thank you, everybody. It's great to have everybody here, and Jen, and her website again, Rochelle, is
itslifey.com. If you get it, you get it. Go check it out.
Go there. It will help. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for being part of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, where stories inspire and voices remind us of what truly matters. May today's conversation give you hope, courage, and a reason to keep moving forward. And just remember, till next time, be kind to one another, because each other's all we've got.